let's begin with Guru Tattva Drishti, session 2. So far we've completed that there is some kind of seeking going on. It's cryptic, it's unknown. I have recognized I don't have the answers to what is this search about, who is seeking, where is it happening, when it began, will it ever end? All these questions are up in the air. There is no clarity, but there is a seeking. This surety is there, but I don't know the answer to all the other questions. I can guess, yes, but I don't know for sure what the answers are to the other questions. Verse number 7 says, will an answer be revealed for these compelling questions? What if the resolution of the seeking remains ever cryptic and ever covert? Means it always remains a secret. Am I okay with that? Are you? Now that you've figured out there is a seeking and you figured out there are these questions, are you okay with not finding the answer? If you are okay, then Gurukul is not for you. If you said, no, I'm not okay, then the investigation really begins. It goes deeper. Now I have to figure out a very important answer with verse number 8. Will an external answer suffice or must it be an inner investigation? Like if Ekta gives me an answer, is that sufficient? Can I believe it? How many of you said yes? Out of Gurukul. There is no external Guru. That is the title of the book. Do you see that? Yeah. How important is it that it is in the title? Yeah. That is what I need to recognize. On the Dvaitam path, you kept running behind an external answer. You wanted an external person to give you an answer, an external guru, a coach, a teacher, a mentor. You kept running. You give me an answer. Again, recognize this is your conditioning. As a child, you were not happy with somebody else's answer. Do you remember asking questions one after the other as a child? Yeah. Why is the sky blue? No, but in the night, where does the blue color go? In the morning, from where does it come? Who is it that is coloring the sky? They got bugged off your questions and told you, shut up, just listen to me. It is so. So what was the conditioning? Shut up. Don't ask questions. Do you see this? Don't bug me. Okay, we'll talk later. First have this ice cream. Have this food. Your questions were not answered. Now, when somebody does that again and again and again and again, what happens to your question asking tendency? What happens? It gets suppressed. Yes. That is where conditioning begins. I am not supposed to ask questions. Somebody will give me the answer. Mama will give me the answer and I have to take it as the truth. Daddy will give me the answer. I have to take it as the truth. There, conditioning began. Do you remember? By your own true nature, you kept asking questions. Do you remember that? If you don't remember, they will tell you how many questions you kept asking and how they had to hush, I'm done with your questions. Not to blame anybody. Even when you became a parent, you did the same to your children. Right? It's not a question of blaming. It's a question of recognizing, oh, this is what is conditioning. So my true nature is not what this conditioning tells me. This conditioning says, shut up. Listen to an authority who has the domain knowledge. This is what conditioning tells me. What is my nature? To inquire, to ask, to investigate. Do you recognize this? If you don't remember it, today you will call your parents and ask them, how many questions did I ask you as a kid? Did I ask you? Did I bother you a lot? Find out if you don't have a memory. You must become clear that investigation, inquiry, asking questions is a natural, inherent quality of my own. That is what number 8 is, verse number 8. Will an external answer suffice, or must it be an inner investigation? Do you recognize why Dvaitam part didn't work for you now? Because there it was told, it is so. Now you must believe it. That's it. It ends there. Have faith. Ends there. You believe because I am saying so. I am a guru sitting on the throne. I am a guru sitting on this big chair. I am the one running such a big organization. You listen because I am saying so. Do you recognize this? This is also part of our spiritual conditioning. We have layers and layers and layers of such conditioning, which suppress our natural inherent quality of investigation. On Advaita path, number 1, the most important qualification, prerequisite, is the ability to investigate, the ability to inquire. So ask yourself that question, do I have this skill? Do I have this ability? Or am I the lazy type? I will believe whatever you say. You just tell me Ekta. Ekta will say, exit is that way. This path is not for somebody who does not have the skill for self-inquiry and self-investigation. Go out, play in the world. There are lots of religions, lots of spiritual organizations looking for people who don't want to investigate, who want to just believe because somebody in authority says so. Go spend some time there. See if you find anything. Yeah? When you are ready to do the hard work, then you come back here. Now do you realize why Gurukul is so strict, so intensive? Because Ekta is actually fighting with your tendency of, Ekta, you tell me and I will believe. Can you believe it? I have to fight with the Ekta's image in your mind. You have an image of Ekta in your mind. She will tell me the truth. And then you have a secret thing, I will quietly believe. No, I have to fight that. It's a lot of work for me, therefore it is a lot of work for you. Yeah? So break that tendency. You do not have to believe anybody in the waking world, including Ekta, because she is restricted to the waking. She is not there in dream and deep sleep. The entire journey here is of going from the first, which is waking, to the second, which is the dream, to the third, which is deep sleeper, to the fourth, Turiya. And those who have reached higher levels of Samadhi, your job is to move from Turiya to Turiyatita. Now, with such a high goal, can you listen to that which is in the first? No. You take tips from the first. That is the only field where you can get your tips from. You take tips from Ekta, but you have to walk. Is that very clear? Yes, and that walking within is called self-investigation or self-exploration. Ramana Maharshi called it Atma Vichara. Vichara not as in thinking, it is beyond the mind. It is the witness recognizing everything and observing everything, becoming clear about who it is, and then getting established there. Yeah. If I have to reach the witness, witness is the fourth, Turiya. If I have to get to the fourth, I cannot be stuck in an external guru. That is verse number 8. Need I seek an external guru, or is the answer already within me? It is within. I have to now look within. I have to find the answer. Will you be convinced if Ekta tells you what the answer is inside you? You'll be convinced for 10 minutes. But again, the same doubts will start coming up. Do you recognize this? So belief does not work. Yeah. Belief is simply, I believe because you say so. It does not work. You will always have doubts. You will always have doubts. Okay. So now we have to understand seeking at a deeper level. How do I begin this inner investigation? So, some of us already did the self-exploration and understood from the self-exploration what Ekta was explaining, that there is no seeker, but there is a seeking. The seeking is not of the waker, not of the dreamer, not of the deep sleeper. In fact, the waker itself is the product of seeking. The dreamer itself is the product of seeking. The deep sleeper is the product of seeking. That means seeking is something which is beyond. Did you come to that recognition? What is seeking? What is the meaning of the word to seek? Do you recognize it is nothing but a thirst? And do you recognize that it's an unquenchable thirst? How much ever I feed it, it's not sufficient. The seeking is not different from an unquenchable thirst. Why is it unquenchable? What makes it unquenchable? Let's look at this. Can you see this balance? Do you recognize there is a balance which automatically tilts either towards pain or towards pleasure? Let's take a small example. Most of you here have a sweet tooth. Yeah. So you have the craving for chocolate. Do you recognize the craving arises first, then you know of it? The craving arises first, and then I come to know, oh, there is a craving of chocolate. Means, where am I? I am sitting here in the center. Yes, I am the center. Who's the I? The witness consciousness. Pure consciousness is not interested in your chocolate and your world and sweet tooth. Pure consciousness has zero interest in knowing pleasure or pain. It is the witness consciousness. Witness consciousness is in the center. When it is quietly standing in the center, the balance is perfect. Yeah? There is no issue. A craving arises. A craving is nothing but a feeling. Do you recognize it? Just a feeling. It does not say the word chocolate. It does not say the word ice cream. That feeling has a sweetness to it. Do you recognize that first the feeling arises, then I know that it has arisen? Yes? So the moment it arises, now what happens? The witness loses its center, loses its witnessing stand, and goes running behind chocolate. Yeah, and then there, one chocolate comes in. Now this becomes heavier than this. It doesn't stop at one chocolate. Now it says, okay, there is another one in the refrigerator. Let me try that. And another one. And there is a cookie. Let me go behind the cookie. And there. And like that, all the chocolates which were there in the refrigerator are done with. Yes. All chocolates gone. So this side becomes heavier than this side. Do you recognize this? Now, consciousness does not like this. Consciousness always looks for a balance. Yes, now the balance is tilted towards the sweet side. So if you've seen an elastic, I forgot to get a rubber band. If you pull an elastic, there is only so much that you can pull. At a point, it comes back. Yes? Is only so much you can pull. Like that only, there's only so much that you can enjoy the sweetness. Do you recognize it? Yes? A point comes that even if you are still eating the chocolate, you stop enjoying it. Do you recognize this? This is the pain. Yeah? And this is scientifically proven, what I'm explaining to you. These are just pine cones. This is pain. Yeah? So now the pain comes in equal amount to balance the sweet side. Now it comes to a balance. Yeah? You call this as pleasure, you call this as pain. But it was really not pain or pleasure to begin with. It did not come with any label on it. It's the first arising, the first feeling that came up, that started this whole show. Do you recognize this? Yeah? If there is a plus 100, it is going to come to balance at a minus 100. Consciousness always looks for a balance. It needs to be at 0. It needs to be at 0. So now, when you start recognizing, seeking, and you start recognizing that it is nothing but a constant thirst, do you see when there is something pleasant, you're absorbed in your work, you're doing it well, because there's just enough amount of pleasantness to keep the work going. The moment there is some feeling like I want to eat chocolate, it's not in words, it's just a feeling. What has it done? It has changed the balance suddenly. Yes, and now you are working, but now half the mind is, I can go to the refrigerator and pick that up. But I have to complete this email. I'm working remotely. I can go pick it up. No. Let me just complete this. Do you see this happening? Yeah, you see what I'm talking about? The pull and the push, the pull and the push, the pull and the push. Yeah? It is consciousness's nature to come to a homeostasis, to come to a balance. It is looking for that 0. Yes. But when the I jumps at that one little arising, it is just a feeling of sweetness. That's all. It didn't even come with the label, I want to have the chocolate cookie sitting in the refrigerator. That would be too much. It just comes with a tug towards sweetness. What am I to do when I recognize this? What is the meaning of just being the witness? Being okay with the opposing forces. Yeah? They are opposing forces, no? Let me complete the email. No, let me go get that cookie from the refrigerator. No, let me complete this. This is just a little bit is left. No, let me go. Do you see this? These are opposing forces. It is the nature of consciousness. Recognize it's okay. The plus 100 is also okay, the minus 100 is also okay, the plus 70 is okay, the minus 70 is okay. There is no need to react to it. This is the meaning of being a witness. And I think somebody else asked me a question about the witnessing, and I said, oh, if you're witnessing and expecting that the pull and push should go away, then you are not really witnessing. You're pretending to witness. Yeah. If you're saying, oh, see, now I am the witness. Now attraction towards the sweet should go away, or I should continue the work. That part should go and I should go and eat the sweet. This pull and push is going to continue. This is the nature of consciousness. You cannot say this should stop. Then you have not started really witnessing. You have manufactured an idea of a witness, and that idea or image of the witness is standing there and saying, see, I'm witnessing, but it's not going away. Witness never says, but it's not going away. Yeah? Somebody witnesses two people getting married. Does he stand there and say, but this, but that? No, he just witnesses from a distance. Yeah? What is the meaning of witnessing? It means to be a catalyst. You are not part of the process. You never were. Your problem is that you have assumed to be a part of the process. Yeah? The sun is a catalyst for the plant to make chlorophyll. The sun is just standing there. Yeah? The light of the sun is a catalyst for the birds to wake up and start chirping. The sun is just the witness of all this. Is standing there. It is the catalyst in whose presence all this happens, but who is not directly involved in the process. Do you understand? That is the meaning of true witnessing. I am not involved in the process. Yeah. For example, the organ called the eye, the eyes are witnessing Ekta's form, shape, color, the room, the background. All this is there on the screen. There are other objects in your room around the computer. That is what the eye is witnessing. Is the eye involved in the process? Whether Ekta comes or goes, some other sight comes or goes. Yeah. The eye only knows the perception. That's it. It has only one function, to know the perception of sight. That's it. Yeah. I just gave the example of the eye. That's how the witness is supposed to be. The witness cannot stand there, see, I am the witness, now this should stop. No. Then you are not the witness. The sun does not say this should stop. If there is any kind of resistance to the opposing forces, then you have not understood the meaning of witnessing yet. Recognize every arising has its own magnetic field. There is an arising to eat ice cream. Yeah? Let's say it just comes as an image in the mind. Nothing else, just the image of ice cream. When the image comes up, the witness is standing at a distance knowing, oh, this is just an arising. The arising comes with its own magnetic force. And this has a magnetic force of attraction. Yeah. Like that only, there could be another arising of a person which has a magnetic force of repulsion around it. Yeah. Just the image of the person comes up. Every arising comes with its own magnetic force. Either it's a positive a plus force or a minus. You stand at a distance in the center. Recognize this arising by itself is not the issue. When I leave my center and I jump onto one side of the balance, that is the issue. If it's the repulsive face that bothers me, I jump onto the painful side of the balance. If it's the attractive ice cream that moves me, then I jump to the pleasure side of the balance. And remember, the nature of consciousness is to come back to the balance. It is going to come back to the balance automatically. So like a rubber band is pulled, it needs to be released also, no? It cannot be pulled only. So when the rubber band is pulled, that is the pleasure part of it. Even in hating the repulsive face that has just arisen as a perception of sight in the mind, there is a pleasure to it. Do you recognize it? Your rubber band is pulled. Recognize this in saying, he is bad, she is bad, he should have not done this, she should have not done this. There is a tendency to extract pleasure because indirectly you're saying, he is bad, I am not like that. See, I am so good. She did this. Indirectly you're saying, you're implying, I am better than her. Yeah? Recognize this tendency. So there is that tendency to seek pleasure even with an arising of repulsion. Do you understand now? Seeking. Yeah. This takes seeking to another level. Oh, seeking is not just for the pleasurable object. It also draws indirect pleasure from the unpleasant object. Unpleasant object, unpleasant event, unpleasant relationship. Homework for myself. How do I recognize this? I have to investigate. I have to investigate, why do I love pizza? I picked up some kids' toys for this demonstration. It's a slice of pizza. Yeah? Why do I love pizza? Is there really pleasure in it? Or is there something deeper I am seeking? You do with your mundane objects, then move to your relationships. Do I truly love the child, the spouse, the parent? Or am I seeking that they love me? And that's why I'm trying to buy their love with a pretense of love. Yeah? Recognize that seeking. I am seeking that you should love me, you should appreciate me. So now I want to buy your appreciation. So to buy your appreciation, what do I use? I use appreciation. See, you're so good. You're so nice. You're the best. You're the best family member. So now when you say you're the best, what does he or she have to do? There is a pressure created. Now he or she has to say, no, you are the best. I'm so lucky to have you as a family member. What did you just do? That was a successful trade. Recognize what seeking does. Yeah? It's very important to recognize this at its core. It's only a trade. It's only a trade. Can I start recognizing it? Ekta just gave me one or two random examples. Can I start recognizing this in my personal life? Yeah. Number one, recognize seeking and its flavors. It has many flavors. Number two, it has an agenda. Recognize the agenda. Unearth it. It's very important that you see the truth, the agenda. And it is always a business transaction. The agenda is nothing else. I want this from you, so I'll give it to you. And I'll give you just enough so that I get back in return. Yeah. Right now, I need appreciation, so I'll appreciate you. Right now, I need the feeling of love, so I'll say, I love you. Yeah. Right now, I need that feeling of being the best parent, so I'll say to the kid, you're the best kid. See this. Watch what seeking is really. What is the nature of seeking? Go deep into it. When you understand seeking, then you will understand this investigation has to be personal. I have to do it alone. Ekta cannot do the investigation for me. Ekta can give me a few tips here and there. Anybody in the external world cannot do this investigation for me. I can only borrow tips from here, but I have to go with it. Very clear? Now, who will do the investigation? The true witness. The image of the witness cannot do this investigation. Be very clear. If you've created a nice image of the witness who's now being the witness of the waker, you just created a mind manufactured picture of a witness. No. You have to become very clear. Is this mind manufactured, or do I really recognize that I'm at a distance from this waker's body mind? Do I clearly see this distance? Then only can this investigation on seeking begin. Yeah, if I am here, if I'm pretending I will be at the waker's level, then I will refuse to see the truth. Do you see that? And the seeking will never be understood. I cannot understand seeking till I pretend to be the waker. I have to be the witness, the witnessing field. Stay at that distance. Recognize it's not personal. And then observe what is this seeking about. Who is seeking? So start recognizing. No arising that comes up comes with a label. It doesn't say good, it doesn't say bad, it doesn't say pleasant, it doesn't say unpleasant, it doesn't say sweet, it doesn't say spicy. When I jump in, I attach labels. Can I stay at a distance without judgment, without criticism, without praise? No labeling. Just at a distance, and understand the seeking tendency. So first things first, you must be at the witnessing stand. Second, have the courage to recognize every seeking is only a business transaction. Every time I jump in, it's a transaction. Every time I jump in, it's a transaction. Can I just stay at a distance? When I stay at a distance, I am at the center of that balance. Yeah. I stay at the center. Both the sides are in perfect balance. There's a homeostasis. Yeah. The moment the eye jumps from the center into one of the pans, yes, that pan becomes heavier. Now consciousness has to give the opposite. The pain will be projected, and there, till this moving balance comes to a still. So when this is moving, that is when you're like, let me complete this work. No, let me get that ice cream. No, let me complete this work. No, let me get that ice cream. This is going on. Do you recognize this? Consciousness is constantly struggling to bring this balance. You stay at a distance. Then only you can see this. If you become the waker, you will be so enamored by the ice cream, there is no question of seeing this. Do you see what I'm saying? Simply stay at the distance and observe this happening. And keep observing it till it calms down and becomes still. 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 Now the witness has won. Then it doesn't matter whether you continue the email or you get up and have your ice cream, cookie, chocolate, whatever that was. The issue is not the arising. Remember, every arising is my own projection. The projection is not the problem. The problem is I don't know who I am. The veiling is the problem. I keep thinking I, the waker Ekta, I am right now tempted to go have that ice cream, leaving my work in the middle. No. There is no need to jump into that, because once there is asmita, there is mamata, there is karta, there is bhukta. Means the moment there is the wrong I, there is the mindness, there is doership, there is experiencership. That whole chain begins. Staying at a distance is the key. Recognizing that this is just a play of consciousness. The arising never came with a pleasant label or painful label. The arising just came. I shifted from the center. I have to go back to it. I got tempted by the arising. I almost slipped. Stay at the center. Let the shifting happen. Settle down. There. Now whatever happens, happens. If you eat the ice cream, you eat the ice cream. If you don't, if you continue to do your work, you continue to do your work. I just gave a very simple example. This is just the beginning point. I'm showing you how to begin the process of investigating the seeking. There are more steps that we will go into. Everything cannot be covered in one session. The first session is just the first step. Recognizing there is a seeking. It is nothing but an unquenchable thirst. Recognizing that I, the witness, got pulled by an arising. The arising did not come with a label of painful or pleasant. It was all my creation. Recognizing I lost my stand, so I come back, attempt to come back to the stand. I recognize this shift. There is no real word for it. Just the shift, this movement. Yeah. You recognize there's rajas, there is tamas, rajas, tamas, rajas, tamas, rajas, tamas. It's trying to come to sattva. Allow it to come to that sattva. Have the patience. Have the patience. You can't say, oh, let it come to sattva, then I'll go and have the ice cream. No, now you're not being the witness. You're not being the witness. Are you getting this? Just being with it, recognizing, yes, this is it, this is it, this is it. This is the first step. Identification of the seeking. That's all I explained to you right now. It involves such a long process because the process of observation by the witness is long. The witness is used to jumping in and acting immediately, no? The witness is not used to staying at a distance and observing. This is the sadhana on the Advaita Vedanta path. Understood how the investigation begins? How you're supposed to do the investigation? Now, are you up for it? That is the main question. Do you have that much interest is number one. Do you have that much interest in yourself to know yourself? Do you have the patience? Because this requires enormous amount of patience and practicing to be the witness. And third, is this your priority? Or does it come after your family, after friends, after whatever social life, partying and everything? Then it's not going to work, huh? So most important is you recognize these three things and decide to continue only if you have them. Okay.